Well, things look a little different in here today. Pretty excited to be able to unveil our 20-foot tall pagan idol. I'm glad that got a laugh. Could have gone the other way. But it's not just a throwaway line, because this gospel story today is set in the temple in Jerusalem on the Feast of the Dedication. And that's not a throwaway line either. The Feast of the Dedication, what we know as Hanukkah, was the commemoration of a victory on the part of the faithful Jews under the leadership of the Maccabees, who waged a holy war against the Seleucid king of Syria, Antiochus Epiphanes. The exact dates, well, I can't tell you. A couple hundred years before the time of Jesus. And among the many outrages of Antiochus Epiphanes, the greatest, and the one that provoked the uprising against him that ultimately proved victorious, was to put a statue of himself in the temple in Jerusalem. A pagan idol in the place where no image was commanded to be put. No image of God, the great I am, the impenetrable, undescribable, insurmountable mystery, who spoke to the people from Sinai and gave them the law. So it's there in the temple on the Feast of the Dedication that the Judean religious leaders come to Jerusalem demanding to know plainly, no more pussyfooting around, are you the Messiah or not? And who knows exactly what they meant by that, but I think both for them and for Jesus, there was the understanding that the dedication of the temple, the restoration of a pure worship on the part of the people of Israel, that work of religious and national renewal was still incomplete. And the question was, how will it be brought to its final fulfillment? Hence, are you the Messiah or not? Are you the one who's going to complete the job that the Maccabee soldiers left unfinished? After all, the Romans still hold sway with their pagan idols. Our land is not truly free. Our people are divided against each other into various sects, quarreling over what is the proper worship of our God, what is the proper form of our priesthood, what is the proper governing authority for our nation. The restoration is not complete. And are you, Jesus of Nazareth, who so many hail as a prophet, whose works of power testify to the fact that you are a man from God? Are you the one who's going to finish the job once and for all, now, in this generation, in a manner that we can understand, in a manner that fulfills our aspirations to power and self-determination? Well, true to form, Jesus doesn't answer the question. What Jesus wants to talk about is life. Not power, but life. The gift of abundant life, which he has received from the Father and has come into this world to share with all. Our restoration as a community is not complete. Over the last 12 years or so, we've been working hard to reestablish our presence in this place after a painful schism, after a, one might say, failed attempt to restore St. John's Episcopal Church as, well, something different, a kind of bastion of reaction against women's liberation, against the full inclusion of gay and lesbian and bisexual and transgender people in the church. But I don't really want to talk about that today. I want to talk about all the work that we've done since then to restore a community here that can witness to the abundant life that God seeks for his people. And part of that work has been to try to make this physical place, this temple, a sign of community, a sign of beauty, a sign of hospitality and welcome and inclusion. So we've renovated our parish hall and installed a wheelchair access ramp and an accessible restroom. And we've repaired the leaking roof on the Sunday school room, and we've turned our courtyard into a gathering place that serves for receptions and for internments of our beloved dead in the columbarium that we've created there. We've installed the beautiful terrace and accessible entrance into our parish office and into this building. And now, finally, we've come to the most difficult phase of this reconstruction of our community, that part that has to do with this building right here. And what's difficult about it is not just that it's expensive or that there's so much to do, but that because this is where we worship. This is the center of our proclamation. This is the place where, above all, we feel a responsibility to be guided by the voice of the Good Shepherd into that communion of abundant life with God, to which all the nations are called. And so we can't simply do as we're doing with our beloved resurrection window over the altar, which is to say, we can't simply restore what once was here to its pristine condition. Certainly that's part of the job, where there are important pieces of the architecture that need to be replaced or restored. But I'm talking about in here, among us. What is our vision for this place? When we start to think about a future for this building, we come right up against the question of who will it be for? Because we're not simply restoring something that belongs to the past, but we're handing something on to the future. We're handing on the promise of abundant life in Christ, of communion and union with the Father. And it's a promise that we wonder deep down about. We wonder deep down if we believe it. And we wonder, perhaps even with a greater sense of anxiety, who else does? And what difference it makes. Do we have a vision for this place that includes them, whoever they are, our children, our grandchildren, people out there in the Petaluma community who we've never met, people maybe who don't even live here yet? And that's not an easy thing to find. It's not an easy thing to find a vision for others that isn't something we're imposing on them from the outside, but it's rather an invitation to them to hear a voice that's speaking to them from within. A voice that's calling them by their own names. How do we invite others to receive a gift that already belongs to them? A gift that they can only claim for themselves because it is God's gift to them. Well, I guess there's really no other way to do it than to hear that voice in our own lives, to trust it, to let it call us, and to follow it, to recognize one another as those to whom the Good Shepherd has spoken, as those whom he knows by name, as those to whom he has given an unsurpassable gift that only they can open, and that they are only seeking to share with us, because their gift, just as much as ours, is from God.